Hi, this is Brenda for Luke's Sewing. Welcome, Luke's ladies and gents. Today we're going to learn how to use the Viking Emerald 116. We're going to learn how to thread, how to load a bobbin, go and review the stitches, and then also the nice selection of accessories that come with the machine. So let's get started. All right, let's review the accessories that come with the Emerald 116. It comes with a variety of pressure feet. So right here we have our B foot, and that's used for our decorative stitches. Our E foot, which is our zipper foot. The J foot, which is for edging. C is a corded buttonhole foot. H, that is our non-stick glide Teflon foot. So if you're sewing across vinyl or something that's going to need some get up and go to pull the fabric through, that's one you want to use. And this is our adjustable edge foot. This is a spare spool for a second spool of thread. Our screwdriver, we're going to come back to that in just a second. Some spare bobbins. This is actually a quilting guide that slides through the back on the machine to allow me to do straight quilting stitches. These are some non-stick self-adhesive guides. They actually will fit on the bottom of one of our other feet, turning it into another glide foot. Here, sewer's best friend. That's our seam ripper. Machine, of course, comes with a package of needles, and then it also comes with a brush for cleaning. All right, let's start with winding a bobbin. We have our thread inserted on the spool. Make sure to use a spool cap. The spool cap should match the size of the spool of thread. Thread will come off the front of the spool. We're going to take that and go through our pressure disc right here, and we're going to take a bobbin. Okay, you may have one already loaded in the machine. I'm going to take and gently pull back on the black lever, remove my bobbin case and the bobbin, take the bobbin and place it right here. From here, we're taking our thread and we are going to actually put it through the hole that's on the bobbin, place it down, and then gently put it next to the bumper. To release the drive so that we can wind a bobbin, we're going to take the flywheel, pull it out, and then I'm going to give some speed. After I give a few spins, I'm going to take my scissors, cut off the tail, and then finish winding my bobbin. You can hear by the sound how strong and how smooth the machine is. We're going to put a little bit of thread on there so we can do some stitches for you. I think that'll do. All right, our next job is to insert the bobbin into the machine. I'm going to drop it in, and remember that the thread comes off the left-hand side of the machine looking like a P. So I'm going to drop it in. The thread is going to go down into this little valley, little notch, and when I pull it over, I'm going to hear a little gentle click. And then I'm good, and I can feel some tension on the bobbin. So we're going to leave that open for just a second. And next, we're going to go ahead and thread the machine and show you how to pick up that bobbin thread in preparation for sewing. All right, so let's go ahead and thread the Emerald 116. Thread comes off the front. I'm going around and behind this area here. I'm coming down, making a U-turn, and going up. One thing you'll want to make sure is using the flywheel, make sure that that hook, see the silver hook, is in the high position. So when I go across and pull it, that thread will snick right in to that position. The thread's going to come down, and now we're going to use the needle threader and the lower thread guide. Lower thread guide is this little, it almost looks like a wire. So I'm going to take the thread behind it here, and when I pull it forward, it goes behind that little bar. And now I'm ready to use the needle threader. I'm going to lower the pressure foot to give myself a little bit of room. Now, this is the way this works. So I'm going to pull this down, and it actually rocks forward. I'm taking the thread, putting it behind this hook, and then I'm pulling it up in front of the hook right here next to the needle. When I hold this, not with a lot of tension, but a little, when I pull back, it actually will pull a loop through the needle. Notice I'm taking the thread and dumping it off. So it's going to go right through that needle, and we're ready to go. Now I want you to stop the video, and I want you to practice threading your machine with the needle threader, and make sure you've got that, and then we'll move on to the next stop. I'm raising the pressure foot. I've got my top thread here, and I'm actually going to wheel the flywheel towards me, and you'll see that bobbin thread snick around there, and I'm pulling it up. I have that bobbin thread. I'm going to take both of them and put them behind my pressure foot. I'm going to put this little cap right back on here, like so. There we go. All right, so now we're ready to sew, but let's review a few of the settings we want to be aware of. So number 1 stitch is your normal straight stitch. Below here is another wheel, and that is my stitch length. For typical sewing on normal woven thread, 2.5 is your stitch length. If I want a longer stitch, I'm going to make the number larger. And of course, if I want a tighter stitch or a smaller stitch, I'm going to circle the other way down towards the 0. All right, so we've got our straight stitch, our 2.5. Up here, you'll notice that this is actually the width of the stitch. Now, wait a minute, we're doing a straight stitch. What would that be used for? Take a look. This is what's exciting. When I change the width, okay, using this wheel on a straight stitch, I'm actually changing the position of the needle. So if I need to change that, I can move it for my project. For just regular stitching, I want that needle in the center position, which lines up right here with that red mark, and that happens to be number 5. All right, so we've got our needle position, we've got our number 1 straight stitch, we have our stitch length. Right here, this is my tension disc. I'm going to leave that on number 4. That's the standard tension for normal sewing. So I've got everything ready to go. I'm going to take my fabric, lower the pressure foot, and I'm going to use the foot pedal, grab those 2 threads just to get it started. Guess what? You might want to push the flywheel back in. Remember, we pulled it out when we wound a bobbin. So I'm pushing that in, and now we're sewing. All right. So next thing that we want to take a look at is we want to look at some of the other stitches that are included on the machine, as well as we'll be talking about some of the accessories that come with the machine. Of course, the next one, as you would guess, is the zigzag stitch. And that can be used for a variety of things, for decorative purposes, for finishing a seam. So I can switch to number 2, and of course, my needle is up. I switch to number 2, and now I'm ready to go and do some zigzagging. As you can hear, the machine is very strong and nice and smooth. So zigzagging is our number 2 stitch. Number 3, I like to call the waltz stitch because it goes 1, 2, 3 down, 1, 2, 3 to the left, 1, 2, 3 to the right. That is, again, can be used for a decorative stitch or for elastic, and is a nice decorative stitch to use as well. The next 2 stitches are for blind hem. The first one is number 4, and that is for a blind hem on stretch fabric. Number 5 is also for a blind hem, and number 6 as well, and it's going the other direction. Number 7 is also for elastic. It actually sews and makes a channel that you can thread the elastic through. And number 8 is, again, another type of decorative stitch with your points on both sides. All right, so that's our first row of stitching. If I want to get to the bottom stitches, the way I get to that selection is, oddly enough, I'm going to take, and on my lower dial, I'm going to turn that to get to the shaded area. And when I put the shaded area right here with the indicator, that allows me to get to that second row of stitches. And you'll see there's some more decorative stitches down here, some overcast stitches to finish your seams with. In fact, I know I'm talking very quickly. If only there were a cheat sheet that I could have that was readily available that could tell me what foot to use, what stitch, what length, and if I need to change the tension. Viking thinks of everything, and that cheat sheet is right here. So when I pull it out, it actually will show me both the technique that I'm doing. It shows me the stitch, which, well, let's look at this first one. That's our straight stitch. It shows me the A foot, what I have installed. It shows me the tension. Remember, we were up here in 4 to 6. It shows me the length of the stitch. Remember our 2.5? And it shows me the width, which is the 5. And of course, I can use that dial to move my needle in position. So when we go down this little cheat sheet, which is so handy, it shows me the stitches, the feet to use, and then all my other settings. So that's a very, very handy thing to have. In fact, when you look right above here, you'll notice there's a ruler. So if you need to take a quick measurement of the project that you're working on, it's built right into the machine. Another handy feature that Viking thought of. One more thing on the machine before we look at the accessories. You're probably wondering what this little lever here is for. Well, I'll tell you what, let's just go ahead and go back. Remember, I put the needle up. I went back to my straight stitch. I am sewing forward. All right, so what's going to happen is I am going to use that lever, and when I pulled it down, notice I'm going backwards. Well, what do I use that for? I might want to go back just to lock my stitches in. So that's real handy to have right here. The other thing you notice is it locked those stitches on the fly. I don't have to stop. If I'm sewing forward, I hold it down, boop, it goes backwards and then forwards. All right, so let's talk about some maintenance on our machine. One of the things that you'll want to do is you'll want to change the needle. If you'll look here, there's a little screw that I'm taking my hands and I'm turning towards me. And as I turn it towards me, that allows the needle to drop out. And I'm good to go. To replace a needle, of course, I would take one from my pack, making sure that the flat surface of the needle is in the back. I'm going to insert it all the way till it stops, and then just simply tighten that thumb screw, and that's how easy it is to do. If I need to change the pressure foot, and remember this machine comes with a lot of nice pressure feet, I'm going to take that and I'm going to just simply slide it forward. I like to think of this as lips. When I see these little lips here, the bar on the foot simply goes and slides between those lips. You heard that little click. All right, so the other thing that we're going to maintain is just to clean the machine. I'm going to take that foot back off. I'm going to use our screwdriver, and I'm going to take off this little plate. So we have our bobbin plate off. We're going to remove the bobbin. All right, and then also, this is the bobbin case. I'm going to just put my finger in there and lift that out as well. Take my little brush, go in here, and you'd be surprised at the dust bunnies that will accumulate down in here. So go ahead and dust all of that out. Then we're going to take our bobbin case, put it back in, and you'll notice this little notch here. It's going to line up right here. So I'm going to take this, drop it in, and hear it click into position. Good to go. All right, so now I've got my bobbin, but I'm going to put that in after we put the lid back on. So we're going to take this, put it back into position, replace our screw, and then insert our bobbin, and you're good to go. Other than that, just wipe the machine down to keep it generally clean, and you're good to go, and I hope you enjoy your Emerald 116. Thanks for attending our little class.